last video focused on the nature of belief. This video begins to focus on the nature of evidence. Some imply that science is a body of evidence, a knowledge bank, but I think it's epistemologically erroneous to see it that way. Science is how you get the evidence. Science is a tool, a lens for observing. What science and art have in common is they both observe. But while science specializes in observing the objective, art observes both the objective and the subjective. Art is spread much more thin, doing more than observing. Science is more focused on accuracy to the finest detail. When we zoom in on the various modes of observation, we see a superset I call active observing. Inward observing is thinking, outward observing is research. Figure 36 ignores most inward modes because the chapter is about science more than art. Research is the first original mode of observation, exploring empirical evidence while ignoring distractions. Scientific research goes beyond just exploring and uses a method for escaping circular reasoning. While general research conducts experiments, science uses a more disciplined and thorough method for experimenting. It starts with conducting a thought experiment to form a hypothesis. Without a hypothesis, you might lose focus while exploring and fail to recognize what you encounter. Thought experiments can also lead to metaphysical and formal science discoveries. Despite all the scientific discipline and effort, science is reluctant to call any discovery a foregone conclusion. That's because science knows that every conclusion is based on a theory that may someday be falsified. Because it's impractical to never conclude anything, I put concluding exclusively in the category of general research. This allows the possibility of circular reasoning. It's also possible to justify sound non-circular conclusions with metaphysics. This includes scientific conclusions justified by philosophy of science. Outside of the scope of research, observation is passive, meaning it doesn't involve physical activity other than receiving information that comes your way. In theory, nothing living is completely passive. There's varying degrees of activity and passivity. Following the research of others is obviously more passive than conducting or witnessing the research for oneself. It requires trust that another isn't misleading or corrupting evidence. Recordings are less reliable than live experience. Words are the least reliable. This leads to the last mode of observation, the most utilized and yet least empirical. Most people underestimate the potentially dangerous but definitely influential power of language and words. If we don't want to overly rely on words alone, we need more research and more trust in the words of researchers. Modern science is built on the Latin phrase nullius in verba, meaning take nobody's word for it. Research that fact if you don't want to take my word for it. That's Figure 36, the various ways we observe the empirical physical world and the conceptual informational world. I hope you found this information useful. Please leave critical and constructive feedback in the comments. Thanks for watching.